The laughter was loud enough to echo across the marble hall of the luxurious Parisian restaurant. It came from a man draped in a suit so crisp it seemed to hum with arrogance, a man everyone in the room recognized. Ethan Morrill, a self-made millionaire, known for his quick deals and even quicker judgments. His watch alone could pay a year's rent for the waitress standing before him, a young woman named Clara, her trembling hands gripping a tray of untouched champagne. The insult cut through the air like a blade as he smirked, "Serve me in English, and I'll pay you $1,000. Around him, his business partners chuckled, sipping their wine, amused by his casual cruelty. But Clara's silence was not born of fear, it was the silence of someone who had learned to hide storms behind her eyes. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humility, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Royal Stories, because every view helps us bring more true-hearted stories to life. That night, the restaurant buzzed with high society chatter, deals, wine, money. Yet Clara stood motionless for a second, her heart pounding. She wasn't a native of France, nor was she born into the polished world that surrounded her. She came from a small village in Romania, a place where dreams rarely crossed the border and poverty was inherited like an old scar. Her father had died when she was 15, leaving her mother and two younger brothers to fend for themselves. Clara had left home soon after, walking miles, working at small cafes and cleaning jobs in different countries, learning every new word she could just to survive. French, Italian, German, Spanish, and English, each language she picked up was a step away from hunger. Now, facing a man who treated her accent as entertainment, something within her stirred. She looked up, her eyes steady, her face calm. Then she began to speak. Not in French, not in Romanian, but in flawless English, smooth as silk and sharp as glass. "Would you like your steak medium rare, sir, or would you prefer I translate that into the other 4 languages I speak?" The laughter at the table froze mid-air. Ethan's smirk vanished. Every sound in the restaurant seemed to fade except her voice, confident, graceful, and full of quiet strength. The moment passed, but it left an echo that haunted Ethan long after. He paid the bill silently, leaving a crisp note of $1,000 on the tray, as promised. But that wasn't what stayed with him. It was the way she carried herself, unshaken, proud, yet deeply human. For the first time in years, the millionaire who measured people by what they wore or owned found himself speechless. The next morning, Ethan couldn't focus on his meetings. Her voice replayed in his mind, the calm tone, the subtle hint of pain behind the words. He asked the restaurant manager about her, only to find she had quit that very night. She said she's going home, the manager told him. Something about her mother being sick. That was all he got. No address, no contact, just a name that now carried weight in his conscience. Clara. Back in her village, Clara's life was far from the marble halls of Paris. Her mother was frail, her brothers still in school, and the small house they lived in leaned against the wind like it might collapse any day. Clara didn't speak of Paris, or the humiliation, or the $1,000 she refused to keep. Instead, she quietly used the money to buy medicine and school supplies. Every night, she sat by the window, reading English books by candlelight, her mind too restless for sleep. Months passed, and Ethan tried to forget. But he couldn't. Something in that brief encounter had unsettled him. A mirror had been held up to the emptiness of his life. The woman he mocked had achieved something far greater than his wealth, dignity. He found himself searching for ways to make sense of what he felt. He donated to charities, funded scholarships, even supported women's education programs abroad. But none of it eased his guilt. One day, while visiting a foundation in Eastern Europe that he had begun funding, Ethan's car broke down in a remote village. As his driver went to find help, Ethan walked down a dusty road lined with sunflowers, until he saw a small school with laughter spilling out of its cracked walls. Inside, a group of children sat cross-legged, repeating English words after a soft, familiar voice. There she was, Clara, dressed simply, hair tied back, chalk dust on her fingers. She didn't see him at first, too focused on teaching a boy how to pronounce hope. The word hung in the air like a promise. When she finally turned and recognized him, surprise flickered across her face, then calmness. He expected anger or bitterness, but she only smiled faintly. "Mr. Morrill," she said in English, her tone polite, distant. "You found your $1,000 worth." Ethan didn't know what to say. He watched her, surrounded by children, her face glowing with purpose. He had spent years chasing profits and power, yet here was someone who found fulfillment in giving others the chance he once mocked. For the first time, he realized how small he had been, not in wealth, but in heart. He asked if he could help, to support her school, to build more classrooms, to bring books and teachers. Clara hesitated at first, but when she saw the sincerity in his eyes, she nodded. "If you want to help," she said softly, "do it for them, not for me." That day changed Ethan Morrill forever. He didn't just build one school, he built 12 across the region. He made sure every child who wanted to learn English, or any language, could do so freely. He visited often, but never with cameras or reporters. He became a quiet benefactor, a man reborn from the ashes of arrogance. Years later, at an international education conference in Geneva, Clara stood on stage as an invited speaker. She spoke about the importance of dignity, of kindness, of the human right to learn. Ethan sat in the audience, his hair grayer, his heart lighter. When she ended her speech, the crowd rose to applaud, but Ethan didn't stand for applause. He stood in respect. As she stepped down from the stage, their eyes met once more. This time, no words were needed. Both had changed. She had risen from pain into purpose, and he had descended from pride into humility. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Every comment, every share helps spread messages of compassion and redemption that the world desperately needs. And before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe one act of kindness can truly change a person's life forever?